It seems to me that we Americans, and maybe this is true of human beings, we like to take sides. You're a Knoll, you're a Gator. You're a Yankees fan, you're a Red Sox fan. You root for Riverview, or you root for Sarasota High. You like dogs, you like cats. You wear red, you wear blue. At first glance, this text seems to want us to do the same with the two sisters, that is, egging us on to take sides, to decide on whose camp we are in, whose side we are on, who is right and who is wrong. Which are you, a Mary or a Martha? Are you the one out in the kitchen making sure dinner is prepared in time? Are you the one who opts to sit at the feet of Jesus, listening and conversing? I know that as I look at these two women, I must admit that it's a Martha that I initially connect with, that I feel more affinity for. I can picture Martha hurrying around here and there, making sure everything is just right the way it should be, meeting everyone's need, busy, 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 busy. For me, and I don't know as for some of you, there is some comfort in being busy. When I am busy, I feel like I'm accomplishing something. I love to make a list and check off as I go. I get Martha. And then there's Mary. Mary, instead of helping her sister, decides to ignore traditional hospitality and instead sits down at the feet of Jesus and gives him her full attention. Engaging in conversation, I can imagine there was laughter and smiles and camaraderie. We really have no idea what Jesus and Mary were talking about. Perhaps Jesus was telling about the day's events, or some earlier episode, or even relating a story or a parable to prove his point to her. Whatever it was that Jesus was saying, it had captured Mary's attention, total attention. And as Martha goes on, as Mary continues to say, she loses it. For crying out loud, Lord, don't you care that there is Mary sitting down there doing nothing while here I am working my tail off? In other words, Lord, I am doing everything. I'm the one doing what I'm supposed to do, what is expected of me. I'm the one showing proper hospitality to you and others. And there is my lazy sister doing nothing. Tell her to come and help me. Martha makes sense to me. She sounds reasonable and fair because if Mary would just come in, maybe with the two of them together, they could get the task done quicker, and then both of them could sit down at the feet of Jesus. But Jesus doesn't seem to see it that way. Gently and yet lovingly, he doesn't scold her. Rather, he says, Martha, dear Martha, let Mary be. And then he goes on to say to her, so that she might hear, not in a nasty voice, but he says, there are some things in life that are more important or even necessary, and Mary has chosen that. So there we are. Martha is rebuked for her busyness and scatteredness, while Mary is not only complimented, but gets the okay to continue to stay where she is and to listen to Jesus, thus leaving her sister Martha all alone with all the chores that needed to be done. As we look at hospitality, I think there are some things that we can glean from this story. First of all, attitude seems to play a big role in this story. It seems to me that Martha doesn't see Jesus' visit as an opportunity to experience something very special. Perhaps even one of those holy moments, those God moments. But rather, it seems to me that Martha saw it as yet another responsibility that had come her way after a long day. Another obligation that she was expected to do, and not a moment to connect. Don't get me wrong, I imagine that Martha liked to clean and cook. I bet she enjoyed hosting and all that was good in it. But for whatever reason on this day, it wasn't fun. And she found herself not only angry, but resentful for all that she was doing while her sister did nothing except listen and laugh and be in fellowship with Jesus. In the movie Patch Adams, there is a scene in the mental institution where Patch, Robin Williams, seeks out Arthur Mendelsohn. Now, you remember Arthur Mendelsohn was a wealthy mathematician, and he asked him about the meaning of four fingers. You see, Mendelsohn had a habit of showing people their four fingers and asking them how many fingers they saw, only to be turned away in disgust when they answered only four. Do you have that clip for me? I want you to watch it. I'm going to come down so I can see it a little bit. So this is a clip from Patch Adams.
May I come in?
Got to turn it up.
If you bend your medial and collateral ligaments, place one talus in front of another, I don't see where you'd have a problem. Of course, if there were a news story covering this event, the headline might read, "Small brain enters room."
Fingers. What's the answer?
Oh, you're another one of those bright young fellows who always know the right answer, huh? Welcome to real life. How many do you see?
There are four fingers, aren't there?
No. Look at me. What? You're focusing on the problem. If you focus on the problem, you can't see the solution. Never focus on the problem. Look at me. How many do you see? No. Look beyond the fingers. How many do you see?
Eight.
Eight. Eight. Yes. Eight's a good answer. Yes. See what no one else sees. See what everyone else chooses not to see. Out of fear, conformity, and laziness. See the whole world anew each day. Now, the truth is, you're well on the way. You didn't see something here besides a crazy, bitter old man.
So what did you glean from that? Why do you think I showed that? I think this is what's happening with Martha. She was focusing on the problem. The problem is that she had Jesus in her house and she needed to fix him something to eat. She needed to do what was the traditional hospitality, and she was so focused on that, she wasn't looking at Jesus. She wasn't paying attention. The very one who gave her life and substance, who allowed her to embrace what was good and holy, who came into her house that day to bless her. And she was so busy focusing on the wrong thing. Hospitality. I wonder sometimes, have we done the same as well? We're so busy focusing on the hospitality that we've forgotten to focus on Jesus, to see the whole world anew. Having Jesus come to her house that day had become a chore and not a blessing. It was oppressive and not liberating. Mary saw beyond and she understood it wasn't every day that you had the opportunity to have Jesus to come into your house. It wasn't every day that she had the opportunity to actually sit at the feet of Jesus when only a few were there and to really engage. Jesus did not come to Mary and Martha's house because it had a 5-star rating. He didn't expect a feast or to be served. He came to be with friends, to relax and take it easy, to share with them. You see, by all the busyness, Martha was missing out on the joy of the day. She missed out on the gift of what really mattered in hosting Jesus. She missed out for opportunity for connecting and being with Jesus in an intimate and personal way. Bryn Brown, a research professor at the University of Houston, and did a TED Talk entitled The Power of Vulnerability. In it, she was talking about her research project, and this is what she said. Connection is where we need to start. That is why we are here. It is what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. And that is what life is all about. The ability to feel connected is how we are wired, why we are here. So she talked about her research. And her research was on connecting. It was very interesting when she went to ask people about connecting. This is really funny. Try this sometime. So she went to ask people about their best experiences about connecting, and guess what they did first? They told her about their experiences about not connecting, which I found really interesting, and she found it interesting. And the more and more people she asked, tell me what's the best thing, they started off, which was the worst thing. Chip, I need to talk to you. You could probably help me understand that a little bit, couldn't you? And so then she came to find out, this word kind of came up to her, and she found out that in this was this word shame. Shame is the fear of being disconnected. When the feeling of connecting unravels, the root cause was shame. Think about it. We say this all the time. Is there something about me that others don't know or see, that they don't want to connect with me? Am I not good enough or smart enough or pretty enough or rich enough? Do I not have the right education or live in the right place? When we allow ourselves to foster, develop, to make connections, she found out when we can get past that shame, when we can have those who are healthy, she understood that they put themselves in a place of excruciating vulnerability. What an interesting two phrases to put together. Excruciating vulnerability. In order for connection to happen, we have to be willing to allow others to see us, to know us as we are. Brown said that it boiled down to one of the most important things that she had ever learned. And what she learned was through all of this, about connections and disconnection, about shame, was our sense of worth. A strong sense of love and belonging is contingent on believing whether we are worthy of love, whether we are worthy of belonging. This story reminds us that hospitality is just not about offering food or money or shelter. It's deeper and richer. Peggy Hines, in her article for the Presbyterian Outlook, and it's in the Outlook this month, writes this: giving of ourselves generously and hospitably to others is an essential expression of faith. The ways we treat others says more about who a congregation is and who we worship. Sometimes the best we can give is our presence. Mary gave Jesus her presence. And more importantly, guess what? Jesus was giving Mary and Martha his presence. At the core of hospitality is this idea of connecting, of sharing our lives with one another. And in doing so, we're sharing the love of God. A love that defines us, reminds us that we are worthy and that we belong. Calling us to, yes, moments of excruciating vulnerability so that we can experience the incredible, remarkable, extraordinary connections with the Almighty. Holy moments, joy-filled moments. It is what gives purpose and meaning to life. You see, Mary showed remarkable vulnerability that day, daring to sit at the feet of Jesus. That just wasn't heard of, not back in those times. She decided to sit there and to listen and connect and to be filled. She got the importance of the moment. She understood the deeper meaning of what it meant to welcome Jesus into her home. So the question is for us, how do we show hospitality to others? And how do we show hospitality to Jesus and the Almighty God? How do we welcome them in our lives? How are we connected? Have you ever just sat at the feet of Jesus? Have you ever allowed yourself the possibility that perhaps that's what Jesus is asking you to do today? Hospitality, welcoming, self-worth, belonging, connecting. God's abundant love for each of you is offered every moment that we breathe, for we are called and claimed. The one who gives us life abundant, eternal, who fills us with colors and sounds and children's and babies and dogs and cats and rainbows and cinnamon rolls. Our God who fills us with parents and children and neighbors and aunts and uncles. A God who says in so many different ways, come, sit at my feet, for you belong to me.